I'm also getting visions of these reptilian beings with crocodile heads eating people. Bro, this is too much. All the other civilizations in the galaxy are descendants of the Lyrans. So this is the start to everything.
Go back,
I am so hyped we are here. Welcome to the channel and let's get right started. As you can tell by the title, I had my first past life memory. Now this is the thing though, is that I always wanted to have past life memories. I know my soul heritage, so I know briefly where I come from, who my people are, stuff like that. For people that don't know, I am a Lyran, and I always knew I was, but I never really did at the same time. I was always called an old soul. I always had like a kid-like personality, and I always had what they call a cat-like spirit. And as you can tell, like, I always into felines and stuff like that. So when Shaman started telling me that I'm a Lyran, I remember the first time I was told I was a Lyran, I literally almost started crying. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And I didn't even know what Lyrans were that much at the time, but I almost started crying. Like, it hit home for me. I would always read about the Lyrans, but I would never truly like understand what that meant. So I spent a whole year and a half trying to understand what that means. So, okay, we're going to be going through together on this website, okay? So you guys are going to see a little bit of what I'm talking about. But this is essentially what the Lyrans are, okay? I'm going to talk about my vision in a moment, but first I want to talk about what the Lyrans are, okay? So the Lyrans are essentially were the first beings to exist in our galaxy. So they are the most ancient race, and they are the ancestors of all the other human beings in our galaxy. So as you can see here, it started off with the splitting off of the two galaxies. Now science supports a lot of this, and much of it just makes sense. This is metaphysical science on understanding source and understanding the galactic center, physical life, stuff like that. So as you can see here, it seems that the co-creators knew what they were doing when they chose Lyra as their canvas to begin the creation of physical life. The co-creators decided to start the great experiment of the descent into physicality in a small constellation that is located right next to a much bigger constellation, Draco, that contained dark service to self reptilian beings who are now known as the Draconians. So essentially these souls decided that they wanted to descend into physicality, which was a common thing during this time that most beings want to do, is they want to descend into physicality and have a physical experience. The felines were the first ones, okay, which I had a bunch of incarnations as felines. And then from there, the humanoid races were created from the felines though. So how it starts is, bro, I don't think people understand that evolution is a real thing. Evolution and creation it's both. And I've been saying this, and most people always say this. So the soul creates the physical experience. People don't understand that. So in order for souls to exist in the physical world, they have to create a physical body to basically walk around in as a vehicle. With us, there was a lot to do with the Anunnaki and the Anunnaki having an assistance in this, but don't worry about that yet. Just look at the fact that we had to evolve, okay? That's why you see a lot of extraterrestrials that are like frog humanoids, jellyfish, like mermaid people, stuff like that, because they had to evolve a physical body to house their soul. That is essentially it. Okay, now to get to my vision, let's start with, I had many incarnations as a feline, but I also had incarnations as Nordic. So I had many incarnations as a feline being and as well as a Nordic being. As you can see, all Lyrans are humanoid, okay? But there's a bunch of different ones. So there's some blue ones, there's white Nordics, there's feline, but it all depends on where they come from. So the star that their planet surrounds. But no matter what, they're all from Lyra. They're all in the Lyra constellation. I always knew a little bit about Lyra and the Draconian Wars and stuff like that. But I always looked at it and I was like, okay, that's my heritage. But like, it's not really like hitting. Like, hopefully one day I can remember this joint, right? And then finally understand who I am more. For those who don't know me that well, I have seizures that cannot be explained by doctors and basically science, right? All they know is that I have seizures every month, every single month, and they aren't neurological, so they don't damage my brain, but I have them. But the crazy part is every time I would have a seizure, I would have like a download of information. Like I just knew more about myself in the world. I felt like a more evolved version of myself. That's the best way to explain it. And so then recently I had a seizure a week after the other one, which is not normal. But before I had the seizure, I kept getting in my mind, you're ready for a download. You're ready for a download. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? The only explanation for my seizures were metaphysical explanations. And it's that I get downloads of information to help me on this planet, to help others ascend. So I get information downloaded in me every month because they couldn't give it to me right away or else it would kill me. So they give it to me every month and they give me information that I'm ready to receive at the moment. It's like it was talking to me. It was like, you're ready for a download. You're ready for a download. And I was like, what? I'm ready? Like, it's too early, but I felt it coming. Like, I felt it coming about. It warns me. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm ready. So I had the seizure, woke up, and then a few days later, I felt different. So I already felt different, but I was like, okay, this download is way bigger than usual. So I already knew that, but I didn't know what information was coming yet. So I knew I had to meditate. But this meditation was so different. I had a vision, but it was a vision that was so powerful within me that I knew it wasn't normal. It was different and I couldn't explain it. This is the vision I saw. So just imagine this is in first person. So the vision is I'm on a planet and there's these like spaceships coming down from the sky, flying down from the sky and coming to massacre everyone. And everybody's running and scared. I'm also getting visions of literally these reptilian beings with crocodile heads and reptilian humanoid bodies eating people. But they aren't just eating people, they're literally eating them alive and eating them in front of their families. Like they would eat these people in front of their family members. And I was seeing it in my eyes. And I was scared. I was having a panic attack because I was like, oh my God. Like I was panicking. I could just feel the emotion, like fear, like deep fear and shame and like grief. I felt deep pain, hurt, grief and fear all at once. And I was panicking because I was seeing these reptilians eating people and raping them, eating them, taking them as slaves. So I had this vision, but I didn't fully understand what it was. I felt it as a memory, like I experienced it before. So I'm going to get into it and tell you guys exactly the vision I saw. We're getting into the Lyran and Draconian Wars. It is still labeled the most catastrophic event to ever happen in our galaxy. And I read about this, but I wasn't really like, I was like, okay, this is my heritage, but I don't really like resonate with it in a way that's like I'm emotional about it. I'll read you guys a story and then I'll read you guys the text messages that I was messaging my mentor about what I saw because I was still confused. I knew what I was seeing. I was seeing the Draconian Wars, but I didn't understand fully. I was like, was I seeing a memory or what, right? So I was confused about that. The Lyrans had a very peaceful world, okay? All they knew was light, okay? All they knew was peace and light. Literally, it was the most peaceful worlds. They were in unison with their planets and with consciousness. They lived like this for millions of years, okay? Alone. They thought they were alone in the galaxy. Like it says here, there was light conflicts, but they were always clear and resolved. They adapted. Literally, they lived in harmony and respective to the planets. They were agricultural. Some had other aspects that they were into. They lived from 300 to 425 years average, and 3 times that now, right? They were not service to self. Okay, their race beated with one heart. They shared and moved together. What they didn't know was that beside them, okay, in the Draco star system, were beings that were kicked out of another universe because of the catastrophes that they brought to that one. From her understanding in the Akashic records, the Draconian beings originally came here to this universe from another universe, okay? After the avian and feline races were already developing here billions of years ago. So the Lyrans were already there. They were already in the Lyran star system, but the Draconians were kicked out of their other universe and landed in this one. When these two civilizations found each other, it ended up in the Lyran Draconian Wars. Now, like she says, this is a difficult section to write because of her own soul memories, and including mine. Reading this after the memories, I was getting flashes of what actually happened. They had to find new homes because their planets were destroyed. Most of them were destroyed, and they had to incarnate in other places in the universe or in the galaxy and start out fresh. All the other civilizations in the galaxy are descendants of the Lyrans. So the Lyrans are the ancestors of all the other humanoid beings in our galaxy. Remember that. So this is the start to everything. I wasn't quite sure the visions. I had to see if they were legit or not. So I started doing a lot more research because I didn't know whether they were legit. So the Draconians, they created a massive destruction of such large magnitude in that other universe that they were removed from that universe by the beings that they were in conflict with and deposited in this universe in the constellation of Draco. As we keep going, they have a hierarchy system. We're not going to get into that. That's for another video we get to the Draconians. The human races were evolving in Lyra within many solar systems in the star system. So the reason why the co-creators chose Lyra was because of the frequencies and stuff like that. And so the Lyrans started to develop space travel. One day, approximately 572 million years ago, in this current timeline, several huge crafts appeared in the sky in the Lyran star system. A large ship came out of the huge crafts and approached the Lyran planets. And reptilians from Alpha Draconis, from a constellation Draco, disembarked. Apparently in the beginning, the Alpha Draconians and the Lyrans were afraid and suspicious of each other. This is what I saw in my vision. The spaceships appearing in the sky. So we have two races who previously thought they were alone in the galaxy and came in contact with each other. Okay? And they're totally opposite. So the Alpha Draconians were the first race in our galaxy to have interstellar space travel and had the capacity for 4 billion years. But when the Draconians came and saw the beautiful Lyran planets and it's all of its abundance, food, everything, they wanted to conquer it, of course, right? The Draconians were driven and motivated to explore space to search for food because their planets were barren from what they did to them. When they got to Lyra, they discovered several solar systems with incredible planets, food and water. Now, this is what I was seeing in my vision, was beautiful planets. And remember, because they're so high vibrational, they don't have weapons. They don't know anything but peace. So there is nothing but peace. They don't have weapons or nothing. The Draconians actually intended to deceive the Lyrans, as they do with other planets that they've encountered. But they first offer a treaty in exchange of resources for higher advanced technology. The Draconians knew that the Lyrans were a young race compared to them. Okay, so they're an old race, but young compared to the Draconians. And so they knew that they would agree upon it because they wanted to explore space. They took the opportunity to explore their planets and their defense systems, and they saw they had none, okay? And they ambushed and annihilated several of the 14 planets in the Lyran star system. As the Lyrans were a peaceful race that previously never knew war and violence and deception, they were basically defenseless and had no weapons. 50 million Lyran humans were slaughtered. The Draconians began to look at humans as a food source and as slaves. So this is what I saw in my vision, and I thought I had to make sure, because I was like, why are they literally eating them and using them as sex slaves? And then I came across this. In this ET book, it talks about the same thing about Draconians. They feel superior over every race, especially humans. They teach their children from young that humans are the Drek of the universe. They are not emotionally attached to their young and let them fend for themselves. If a child dies due to circumstances, they believe the child was weak and deserved death. So right away I knew, whoa, okay, this is part of my vision. During the wars, the reptilians had their first taste of human flesh, bro. And they used Lyran prisoners as sex slaves for breeding purposes. This is what I was seeing, and I was on the verge of crying because the grief, and I realized that I was feeling like these people blame themselves. You guys are about to see in the text messages from my mentor that I was labeling them, I was saying them, but really it's me. She was saying it's you, like this was your experience. How old the struggle is between the reptilians and human races. What resulted from the Lyran Draconian Wars was the biggest catastrophic event that has ever occurred in this galaxy, quite possibly the entire universe. They searched for the Lyrans. The Lyrans had to spread throughout space in search of water and habitable places, new places to live at. And so eventually they just started incarnating in other bodies and other places and trying to find new homes. But they always knew that they could never go back home because it was destroyed. I always felt like this. I'm going to read you the text messages of what I said to my mentor. I said, hey moms, I don't usually send long sappy messages, but listen to this. So I'm reading a book on extraterrestrials when I happened to come across Lyra. I'm reading about how it was adjacent to Draco and how the reptilians came nice at first then massacred everyone. I read about this story before, but it never really hit me until now. I started getting visions of crocodile and reptilian beings flying down from the sky and literally eating everyone. A peaceful world that knew nothing but peace never could have imagined such a darkness. I see the most evil force fall upon the Lyrans, all because all they knew was peace. Now they are scattered across the galaxies with a deep scar of what happened to them and their ever peaceful destroyed homeworlds. I keep hearing never again. We will never lose who we are. We will remember who we are. We will never let that happen again. And I kept getting this. I kept hearing in my mind, never again, never again. And we will never forget who we are. And I could see everybody putting their hands in the middle and they're like, promise each other never again. And we will never forget who we are. It was the attack by the Draconians that forced the Lyrans to evacuate their survivors from their planets, migrate out of that system, and spread out into the galaxy. It also forced them to develop weapons. Now remember this, if you guys know me, I hated hurting people, and I was always afraid of the idea of being able to hurt people. And I grew up with this. My mom would always tell me, you always had a high awareness. Like you would ask me these high awareness questions like, how come I can see out my eyes, and what is love and all of this. But she said from young, I was always afraid of hurting people, and I never wanted to become strong or powerful because I didn't even want the ability to be able to hurt people. All of my research in the Lyrans is saying that yes, they had to pick up weapons and they didn't want to. And Lyrans are also very childlike spirited people and very wise and very loving, pure souls. People know me as always very loving, very childlike. Everything is lining up and making sense. Like my life is being explained from this vision and from all of my research here. I'm like, bro, what the hell? All my life I wondered why I was the way I was. Then I get this vision and everything's explaining. I had a seizure earlier than usual while feeling massive shifts. Then I get these realizations. Seems like I found out why my deepest fear from childhood and to this day was always being vulnerable and becoming an evil person. I almost cried seeing these visions too, seeing crocodile beings eating and raping family members in front of each other and being able to do nothing. They blame themselves because they were the first beings to be in the physical and couldn't have known better. It's like a thief coming across an innocent child. Never again, I keep hearing. And then you see this picture. This is what I saw. It's like humans against reptilians. And I kept seeing this joint. Like, there's a forever hate and like something always against reptilians. But what I also kept hearing in my mind is, just like in Alita, I always loved the movie Alita because I always resonated with it for some reason. Just like in Alita, when she realizes she's a warrior and she got a vision, and the vision was her mentor telling her, always remember who the real enemy is. Destroy Zalem. You guys remember that from Alita. That is what I heard, but instead it was, remember who the real enemy is. Darkness. That the real enemy is darkness. The Draconians are just an army of the darkness, while light beings are just an army of the light, right? So we need to stop saying, oh, the reptilians are bad. No, remember who the real enemy is. I kept getting in my vision. I see Lyrans as kid-like beings with purely loving hearts, but now have this fierce warrior spirit because of what happened to them being the first civilization in the galaxy. Their hearts forever scarred and fear hate toward reptilians. Bravo! You are experiencing the after effects of the recent Lionsgate portal, which happened a week ago, which is bringing increased recall and realization of the truth of who you are. Everything you said is right on track. I've known everything you said about you from the moment I encountered you, but couldn't share all the details because I was told that the revealing of this information was part of your journey. That's why I tried to reassure you that you physically fought in battles before, but you won't have to fight to that magnitude during your incarnation on Earth. Because I was training a lot in combat training and working out a lot, still am. She's referring to the point that I've been really into combat and being a warrior energetically and physically. I'm even writing a book on how to be a spiritual warrior. So all of this is like lining up, like everything is lining up right now. You do realize that the story you were reading is your story. You were a part of the Lyran group that fought during that time. Instead of saying you when you refer to the information you've read, you should now replace with the word we, because you are reading about your previous experiences. The way your journey is set up, things will be revealed to you at the moment you're supposed to jog your memory. As a matter of fact, that last sentence where you said we will never lose who we are, we will remember who we are, etc., is you speaking. Those are your words that you spoke during that time. Let me give you a little spoiler. Everything you wrote at the beginning of the text can and should be used as the opening of your book. Bro, read what you text me again. It'll give you chills because it is freaking awesome and it's the truth. Share those words. They are powerful. I know the seizures are annoying, but hang in there. They won't happen forever. And I was telling her, I've never felt that pain in my heart before. I see the most sinister experiences that happened and the darkness people experience similar to that everywhere. I still feel deep fear toward that vision. Claws and slobbery teeth, screaming and crying. The thing is, I feel empowered by these memories, but I also feel grief. I feel a lot of grief and pain toward this memory. When I received this memory, it's like I got so much more power. I remember hearing this a bit ago. Grief doesn't get smaller, but you get bigger. And I heard that before I got this download of information and the memory recall. So it was like I was meant to hear that before the memory, like she said, so that I could be fully ready to receive it. So there's more intelligent things in play here to get me to remember who I am so that I can be more effective and do my mission on this planet more effectively. Crazy joint, right? I admit to myself the grief will always be there. I'll always have this feeling of I'll never be able to go home, what they did to us, never again. And as we incarnate elsewhere, we will never forget who we are. We will never lose ourselves to the darkness or to anything. We will always remember who we are. And I kept getting that in the memory, and now I realize it was me. So she was telling me it was me saying that. Every time I look at pictures like this. See this picture? This is exactly what I saw. One of the things I exactly saw was them literally eating us and licking their fingers and saying that was good. I was looking at this and my heart dropped because I was just seeing them eating us and us screaming and crying, begging for mercy, but they loved it. They loved that we were screaming and in pain. I think that's all I want to say for now. I'll end the video here, but all I want to say is that this vision I got was crazy. And if you guys are looking for past life visions, they are not like how you thought. They're not all sunshine and rainbows. I'm glad I got this vision. I'm more than happy. I want more. But now I see that it's not a game. Like, you are remembering who you are. I'm completely different now than I was before the vision. I remember more of who I am, and now I see why I am who I am. It explained almost my entire life that nobody could explain. I told my mom about this. She's like, you were always like this is not, that explains this and that. Comment what you guys think. If you guys want, we could talk more about the Draconian Wars and the reptilians if you want, but let me know. This is just a brief overview so you guys can get an idea of what happened in my past lives. I have a lot of people after this, they ask me, are you okay? Are you okay? In the moment when I was first getting these memories, I was in a dark space. I was very petrified and in shame and sorrow because, again, the Lyrans, we blamed ourselves for what happened because we were too naive. We didn't have protection. We didn't have weapons. We didn't see the deception, which is why I'm so into reading about war now and becoming a warrior, all because of this. And I never knew why. War and conflict and challenges are inevitable. Might as well become powerful so then I could handle it all. Bro, this is too much, dog. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'm so excited to publish this and do more videos like this where I'm just sitting down and talking to the camera. We'll get more into the Draconians, the Lyrans, and the Lyran Draconian Wars if you guys want. This was so awesome, guys. I can't wait to talk more. Let me know what you guys want more of, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.